So many powerful dynamite women struggle with feeling secure in their relationships, whether they're dating and just getting to know someone, or they've been in a romantic relationship for a couple of months and they're hoping that it will evolve into something more. Or sometimes, even if you've been in a long term relationship, you can feel the insecurity. And the biggest insecurity, or the greatest insecurity, that the women I work with face is fear of abandonment. And fear of abandonment can come in so many forms, and it can really surprise us how it appears in our lives. You can have fear of abandonment in its most simple form, which is when your partner leaves the house or goes on a trip or is late calling you or returning from home. You may have a fear that this person physically, something has happened to them. You're worried that they may get into an accident, that they may die prematurely. This is a fear of abandonment. But more often, women have a fear of abandonment in terms of dating, getting to know someone. Will they like me? Will they continue to like me? Will they call me and keep hanging out with me and getting to know me? If I decide to make love to this person, try something new, or if I say something out of character or I lose my temper, will this person continue to love me or will they abandon me? And fear of abandonment, often in dating, can take over the entire experience of getting to know someone instead of getting to know someone and feeling and experiencing love and connection and companionship. You may also wonder, will this person continue to love me if I lose my job, or if I get sick, or when I get old? Will I continue to be loved and held and have that connection with this person? So fear of abandonment is something we all face and we all feel at different times in our lives. And especially in our relationships with others, where we are our most raw and open, and we are being vulnerable. And that vulnerability creates fear. And that's really what a fear of abandonment and insecurity is about. It is an actual fear, a fear of separation, of being separate from something or someone you love. And again, so often I run into women who they actually don't even know the man. They aren't that sure of him. They don't know him that well yet, but they're already very attached. And they're not attached to the man. They're attached to the idea of not being abandoned, of finally having someone to love and hold their heart consistently and with care. So I'm going to share some feminine energy tips and tools with you in this video, and also how masculine energy creeps in and wants to control and have an absolute permanent answer to abandonment. And we all know there is no permanent answer to abandonment. You will at some point become separate from everyone you love, slowly over time. And it can be a really sombering thought when you think about it all at once. But fortunately, it usually does not happen all at once. It happens slowly over time. And this is my first stop with feminine energy, is understanding that everything is temporary. All of your relationships are temporary. I am a happily married woman to a wonderful man, but my relationship with him will end one day. It will either end at the same time for both of us, or one of us will go before the other. So when you're able to first start with embracing the impermanence of life and that all of this is temporary, that's really going to be the stage for how you live your feminine energy values and connect with your feminine energy body. It's when we're resisting that belief and that reality that we stay trapped in fear. So that's a big concept for a lot of you to possibly take on at once, but I want you to hang in here with me because I'm going to share some tips that you can use right now today, whether you're feeling insecure dating a man you love, or you're not getting the commitment you desire, or you're feeling that your relationship with your partner is shaky and not on solid ground. We first have to get your stage or your foundation stable. And this is what I call your jumping off point. This is where you're first starting. And so many of us have experienced the wounds of abandonment from childhood early on. In fact, most of our caregivers failed us. Most everyone will tell you a caregiver failed them in some way, and it creates that abandonment wound. So the first place I want you to start is understanding that the attachment to that person can often be very temporary and it's out of your control. And recently I had a client who had been dating a man for going on a year. She had been telling him that she wanted to be a wife, and he began to pull away from the relationship. And I learned just recently that after a wonderful night together, he ended the relationship with her because he just couldn't give her what she wanted. And what this man is doing is very honest. And the woman has given him her heart, her life for this entire year. And women view time very differently than men do, especially when you get into your 30s. If you want to have children, family, and you want to find a partner in life before you get into your 50s. Love at any time is possible, but a lot of us would rather have it now than later. So when a man abandons you and the relationship ends, you're going to feel that separation. You're going to really hurt for that separation from that thing or that person and what it was giving you in the past. And the first step I get you to in that process is, who is this person truly? If they can't commit to me, if they can't show up and really give me the commitment and love consistently that I desire, what do I really have? Am I in love with the dream, the hope that one day I could have this with that person? Or am I really, truly in love with that person? So clinging to controlling what they could have done, how they should have done this, and controlling their choices or the outcome is where you'll feel your biggest amount of pain, where you'll get stuck, is that this should have worked out. It could have worked out. Not was it meant to work out. Because if it's meant to work out, you have two people who are showing up and giving their part to the relationship totally and fully. And if you don't have that, what do you have truly? Now, other times you can feel you're just newly dating a man and he's maybe not texting as often, not texting as frequently, or the texts begin to fade away. You can't really control how often someone texts you. You can't control whether or not a person is going to become attached to you and want to see more of you and love you and hold you. We have no control over that. But so often I work with women who are doing manipulative tactics to create that. And this is what I teach you in feminine energy, that just when you show up with your ability to receive and be warm, with your heart unzipped, and you're willing to be vulnerable with your partner, that is what the man falls in love with. He falls in love with the barefoot girl running in the grass. He doesn't fall in love with the woman who is so scared of losing any sort of attachment she has with this person. And until you address that fear of that in-between state that you're seeking, until you address that fear, it is often difficult to really build a loving, long-lasting relationship with anyone. And this is about looking fear right in the eyes and trusting who you are as a person, your life's mission, what I call your rich, juicy, full life. And that's not to say that abandonment of any type doesn't hurt. We're not here to avoid the pain of abandonment. We're here to be loved and love. And if you are concerned about abandonment and living in that future place, or being in that place where the person isn't doing and giving you enough of what you need, you're not going to be able to enjoy the relationship as it's unfolding. So when you're insecure, your mind often rushes into a story. He'll leave me. He doesn't love me enough. And in that present moment, it's important to ask yourself, what's really happening now? That's proof of that. Recently, a client of mine had a wonderful weekend with a man. They had gone away on vacation. They had consummated their relationship, and they got home from their trip. One day goes by, 2 days go by, 3, 4, 5, nothing from this guy. So she reaches out to me and says, look, we had a great time. We did have a little argument on our trip, but why isn't he reaching out to me? What should I do? It's always your right to get clarity, whether you've dated a man once or you've dated him for months or years. If you're married, it is always your right to get clarity. And I said, by all means, reach out to him and let him know the past weekend felt wonderful. I haven't heard from you. Has something changed? You're getting clarity. She never heard back from this man. And she really went into a tailspin, as one would imagine, because you've opened up your heart to someone, you've gone away with them, and now they're treating you like you're a stranger. And they're not even bothering to communicate with you. So you can see how this can feel really devastating. So it's not about avoiding that pain of being abandoned. And she said to me, I'm afraid to go on another date with a man. How do I know that this won't happen to me again? You don't. This is where we must learn to love bravely. Now, there are some things you can do. There were some things that were happening early on in the relationship that she chose to not see. He came on very hot and heavy, lots of beautiful words, lots of promises, and things like this. And that's also known as love bombing. And she was not really wanting to see those things. And again, you may get love bombed by a guy and it turn into a loving, long-lasting relationship. But usually, in most cases, we take our time getting to know someone. Trust is built in layers, and connection is built in layers and experiences. It is not an instant thing that happens to us, although it can feel that way. So this is really about self-mastery of yourself before I'm getting involved with someone. So as you know, the only person you can control is yourself. And the only influence you really have is over yourself. And it's through deciding how you respond and react to the man who doesn't text you only once a week. Well, if you can't change him, how do you respond and react to that? Or if your partner, you have an argument and he goes cold or silent on you for several days or weeks, how can you respond to that? What feels good and right for you? If you have fallen in love with a man that lives 6 hours away, you have no control over whether he moves closer to you or not. What do you have control over? Now, this is the beautiful part of feminine energy, is that masculine energy is so often about that external control. How can I manipulate this person into loving me? How can I tie them down? How can I create scenarios where they're in a way forced to love me? And that's a masculine viewpoint of controlling that person to get them to love you. When in fact, just showing up and being who you are authentically and vulnerable with your vulnerability is what makes that beautiful thing called love happen. All right, everyone. I hope this video has been helpful. I have a course called Fem Tools for Dating, and next week I'm rolling out some additional modules. They're called fast track modules, and they're going to help you so much if you are really ready to move on from dating to finding loving, long-lasting commitment. I really recommend you start with my ebook, 500 Ways to Talk to a Man. It's a great way to learn about grounding yourself in feminine energy and letting go of control. Those links are below, and I look forward to hearing from you in the comments. Lots of love. Until next time. Bye-bye.